Hey everybody, John Peterson here, and welcome to another edition of Which One Works. In this small little series, I'm reviewing and critiquing some of my images and letting you hear how I go about selecting the ones that I want to process, the ones that I want to work on. And oftentimes there's just subtle differences between these images to make me choose one over the other. And this is my own self-inflicted image critique, if you will. And, I'm happy that you're watching this series and joining me on this little journey. I hope you find some interest and education from this. So I've got a real short one for you today. Now that spring is here, spring has sprung and flowers are blooming and life is looking great. Let's go ahead and take a look at a series of flower photographs, and I'll talk about which one works and which ones don't. All right, let's take a look. All right, here we go. And in this series, I'm looking at some photographs of dahlia flowers. Now, granted, as I'm recording this, it's late April and it's tulip season, but for this series, I wanted to do some dahlias. Dahlias won't be coming along until later on this summer, and it's fantastic flowers to photograph. I always enjoy doing this every year. So let's go ahead and dive into this little series. I have 3 images for you to look at. Now, what attracted me to this scene, first off, was these 2 flowers stacked on top of one another. Secondly, the water drops on each of the petals. They had just watered the farm. This is at a dahlia farm nearby Portland, Oregon, and so there was a lot of water drops on the flowers, so I really was attracted to those. So this hint of 2 flowers with water drops was what attracted me to this scene. This is the first composition I took, and it included most of the lower flower and the majority of the upper flower. Yep. And I got the water drop, so yep, that sort of accomplished what attracted me to the scene, but it doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work for me is look at how much background we have, number 1, and number 2, this bright green color is really dominating and pulling my eyes away from the flowers. There's this whole empty space that doesn't really add to why I was taking this photograph, which was these 2 flowers and the water drops. So this image right off the bat just doesn't work. There's too much space. And so my thought is that, okay, let's go ahead and try to eliminate some of that extra space and let's get in tighter. And that's where the second shot comes in. Now, I've got the majority of the lower flower. I've got the water drops, which is great. I cut off a large part of the upper flower, which is okay because it still gives, I have enough petals coming down from the top of the frame that it still gives the impression and the hint that there's 2 flowers stacked on top of one another. You know, our brains are pretty amazing in that they can fill in the blanks. And I gave enough information for a user to quickly, without a lot of work, fill in the blank that, hey, there's another flower on top or above this main flower that I'm photographing. I've got water droplets on the upper flower. I've got great water drops on the lower flower. So far, it looks great. I've minimized the majority of this really bright green in the background, which is wonderful. Cut out all the dead space, which is wonderful. Some of you may say, well, you cut off the petals of the flower. And that's true, and that's okay. You know, generally I talk about don't cut off subjects. They're either in or they're out. But in flowers especially, I break that rule as long as it's balanced. You know, if I would have included both sides of all of the petals here and just cut off one side, that could have looked lazy. But because I've cut them off on the left, on the bottom, on the right, and on the top, it looks intentional. So cutting off the flower petals really works well. But the thing in this image that doesn't work for me are these stems that are coming up on the right. I've got two stems that are coming into the frame. Because I moved over, if we go back to that first shot, you know, I didn't have the right hand side of that flower in this shot. I excluded the stems, and I did that intentionally. But to get closer and to get them centered a little bit, those stems really came into the frame. And that's not something that I like. And it's not something that would be easily removable using either Lightroom or Photoshop content-aware removal tools. There's just too much there, and it may disrupt and destroy the flower petals. So this particular image doesn't work for me. So in the field, I sought to refine that even further. Let's get closer. Now, I have still cut off all the flower petals. I still have petals coming down from the top, which gives a hint of another flower stacked above the existing one. I got much closer to my subject, which allowed me to fill the frame, and it allowed me to remove the stems on the right. I still have water droplets, and everything in this shot is great for me. I have no quibbles or critiques or things that didn't go right with this shot. So this is the one that works for me. All right, folks, so there you go. There is Which One Works, the Dahlia edition. Hope you enjoyed this. And, you know, it really comes down to sometimes just a few small details to make the difference between a good image and a great image. And that's why I constantly talk about obsessing the details, scanning your entire composition before you push the shutter button, and then being ruthless in the darkroom as you evaluate and process your images. So it's the little things that matter. So I'll just leave you with that one for now. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Please give a like, subscribe if you haven't done so. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.